filter and processor. The goal of this video is to help you feel better now and going forward. In this video, I will introduce to you two concepts, the filter and the processor. First, each human being is constantly in interaction with its surroundings. Each individual is constantly bombarded by stimuli from these surroundings. By stimuli, I mean the things you consciously, but also subconsciously, hear, smell, feel, etc. No individual is the same in its receptiveness to stimuli. Some are more sensitive than others. I'll explain to you how that works. Imagine you have one filter and you have one processor. Imagine these two are both part of your brain formatting. Here you see the filter surrounding the processor. The processor processes all the incoming stimuli, so you can then act adequately on these stimuli. A processor can handle only so many stimuli per second, and this varies per person. One individual can have a processor with more or less capacity than another individual. I'll explain to you how this works. For example, imagine you're walking with a friend down the street and you're in the middle of a conversation. Your filter lets you hear what he's saying because his words are hitting your processor. All other unnecessary stimuli like car and scooter sounds, other people's noises, etc. are prevented from hitting your processor. They stay in the filter. This is why and how you're able to focus on the conversation, even if you're in busy surroundings. Again, your filter helps you filter the unimportant stimuli from the important ones. Every individual is born with a unique, optimal thickness of his or her filter. In other words, every person has a different thickness of their filter. No one is alike. Now, if you're feeling well and you're high up in your mental battery, your filter has its optimal thickness, so you're well protected against unwanted stimuli. If you go down in your mental battery, the filter becomes thinner. The deeper you go down in your mental battery, the thinner your filter becomes. As a result, more and more unimportant stimuli will start hitting your processor through the thin filter. Due to overstimulation of your processor and too little recovery time for your processor, there's a danger of you getting into a negative downward spiral. This risk is you ending up below your threshold of your mental battery. Your processor will then start showing signs of short-circuiting. One of the signs of short-circuiting of your processor is that your filter will become exponentially thinner. As a consequence, your processor will be hit with unwanted stimuli even more, and you will drop down even faster in your mental battery capacity. On a certain level, you will start showing signs of depression and/or anxiety or burnout symptoms, and/or whatever you're vulnerable for, including physical symptoms. All the way down with very little capacity left in your mental battery and your filter razor thin, the sound of a motorbike can hit you, your processor, like a fighter jet breaking through the sound barrier. To clarify this all, I will use the previously used example. Again, you're talking with your friend. You are feeling well and you're high up in your mental battery. As a result, your filter has its optimal thickness. Now imagine that your processor can handle 5 stimuli per second. In this state and during this conversation, 4 stimuli per second end up hitting your processor. So you would be even able to handle more if needed. But then imagine you being in the same conversation and setting as before, but lower in your mental battery. As a consequence, your filter will be thinner, and more stimuli will be hitting your processor. Let's say 8 stimuli per second. So this is well above the maximum capacity of your processor, which was 5. If then, after this conversation, you do not take enough time to recover, and let's say you have this conversation all day long, the downward spiral can start to occur. Symptoms, for example, can be continuous fatigue, trouble thinking straight, easily irritated, etc. It can be very confusing when you are experiencing signals of an overstimulated processor and do not know what they mean. Now you do know. You are lower in your mental battery capacity and need to recharge to add capacity, so also your filter becomes thicker again. Things to remember. Each individual has an innate thickness of his or her filter. No individuals are exactly alike, their filters aren't either. High up in your mental battery and wishing the thickness of your filter becoming thicker is a waste of time and very frustrating and consumes a lot of energy. Do not expect this from other people either. It is the way it is. Do not underestimate the enormous increase of stimuli we have to deal with in daily life, especially in the last decade since the introduction of the smartphone. Therefore, also do not underestimate the risk of overstimulation of our processors. The advice I have for you is to start being aware of stimuli and signs of overstimulation and take good care of your processor and filter. The thinner your innate filter is, the more you will need to adjust your lifestyle to this fact and deal with it. Please realize this is nothing to be sad about. This does not exclude you from becoming happy or being successful. Your chances are even greater if you take all of the above into account. In the next videos, I will inform you further on how to take good care of yourself.